All right, good morning and welcome to my channel. Today's episode is going to be specifically addressing those people that are the 13 to 20% unemployed. And in that situation, some of you are going to end up on the street. That's just a reality. People are getting evicted every day, and there's a lot of fear around going to a homeless shelter, okay? So, for that percentage of people that will need to eventually deal with a homeless shelter, we're going to discuss what that is like, what you should be doing, what to avoid. We're going to look at the whole scenario for you before you determine whether or not I would be a good source of information. I've got close to 100 videos about low-income housing, HUD housing, COC housing. And, I spent more than 10 years on the street, crossing the country, across 20 states. Went all the way through the system in 7 different separate cities on 3 different tours of the country, I guess you'd say. So if you want a source of information that actually knows how to deal with major metropolitan areas down to small cities, I have been to hell and back with all these things, okay? Now, the first thing I want to do is tell you, get you mentally prepared, okay? First of all, the news and newspapers and TV, they like to focus on the shock value of showing people that are, hadn't taken a bath all month, they're under the bridge, maybe they have a crack pipe hanging out their mouth, stuff like that. That's not the reality of most homeless shelters, okay? There's only a small percent of the hardcore cases that are actually even going to a shelter. Most of the hardcore people that choose to remain homeless or on drugs and stuff like that don't even go to homeless shelters, so I wanted to dispel that rumor to begin with. Most of the people that do go into shelter, vast majority, are going there because they're ordinary people that are down on their luck, okay? That's what I saw in 7 different cities. And just to give an example, I survived it in Memphis, Tennessee, Chicago, Seattle, New Orleans, Atlanta, Georgia, Denver. So I've seen big to small. First of all, we need to understand that there are 3 different things that go on a shelter, okay? The first is you have, like I said, the 3 options. The first is you're going to be a transient. Now, transients is sometimes the type of people you'll see that are hardcore, okay? These are people that come, they get a bed ticket, or they get into the system in order to be able to stay the night. Being a transient entitles you to a place to sleep for the night, and then also get meals. Some shelters will serve all 3, which means breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I'm not saying every shelter's like that, okay? So if all you want is a couple of meals a day and to show up around between 5 and 7 p.m. at night to have a place to rest your head, then that would make you just a transient. You're not involved in anything else the shelter has to offer. Now, just to be clear, no matter what you choose to do out of the 3 options that most shelters offer, typically you're going to have to get in line. You're going to have to get in line early, okay? And in some big cities like San Francisco, it will not be an indefinite situation. Over there, they can give you like 90 days worth of shelter tickets, but after that, you may have to wait another 3 months before they can let you back in because there's so many homeless people. I would imagine it's like that in LA too, okay? And I haven't done the system in LA. However, I did pass through LA. Now, if you don't want to be transient, the 2 popular programs I see, especially with religious shelters, and usually religious shelters will be named after a church, or they'll have something, it'll be like blah, blah, blah union, okay? Like the Seattle Union Mission or the Memphis Union Mission, or in Houston, they call it the Open Door Mission, okay? So if you hear the words mission and union, they're usually religious. Or, of course, you have the Salvation Army, which is not, in principle, all religious. But anyways, to get to the point, the second point of interest you may have is going to be the work program. But let me explain how work programs work in all the cities I've ever been to. Once you get in line, you get your bed ticket and all that, you might have an opportunity to speak to somebody. If the city's small, they may allow you just to walk in the door any time of the day and speak with a counselor. But in most cases, shelters are busy places, and they're really only interested in talking to you. If you're out there early, line up for a bed ticket, or somewhere after lunch, they'll have time to speak with you. Now the work program typically works like this. They're gonna pretty much hold you hostage in the building for 30 days, sometimes up to 90. And the point is, they want to make sure that you're a highly capable person that's going to be able to contribute to whatever program they have in there. In other words, you're going to be cleaning, cooking, doing lawn work, whatever it is they need you to do. And then you're going to go through, if they have religious programs, you may have to go to 3 classes a day. And if they have chapel services, you may be going to that once, twice, or 3 times a day. It really just depends on the shelter. Now, after you've done your due and you've given some sweat equity to the shelter, after about 30 days, they'll allow you to start hitting the streets, okay? Which means that at that point, they may only require you to go to 1 or 2 classes a week. The rest of the time, you should be out there looking for work, and you can come in and out the shelter fairly freely, and you won't have to follow a lot of the rules that people that just got there do, okay? So that's what that is about. It's important you stay on your P's and Q's while you're there. If you see that there are people trying to do the wrong thing, the first while you're there and you're being held in the building the first 30 to 90 days, it's important not to steal shit from the kitchen and food and get involved in any kind of shenanigans. You got a lot of people, man, that get in there and they treat it like it's going to be a permanent home. And because they do that, they start getting involved in things they shouldn't be getting involved in. Look, find a segment of people that are like you, that think like you, that are doing okay. Hang out with those folks. If you got people that are scheming, they're trying to steal clothes out the clothing closet or, do other things, get away from those people as quickly as possible, okay? Let me make something very clear about homeless shelters. Most of them, in most cases, do not have a smoking section. So you just gave up smoking when you enter that program, okay? Do not get caught on the back patios and other areas where you think they're not watching smoking cigarettes. They'll put you out the door. Typically, they're not allow you to keep food in your area where you're staying. So, what does a work program look like from the inside of the building? Well, the transient people tend to be in large dormitory with bunk beds. If it's not a really big shelter, then they may just put you on rubber mats on the floor. You get your blanket, your sheet, and whatever, and that would be transient. Now, for the work programmers, or what they like to call once you get in there, the transients will call you programmers because it's kind of an offensive term that they call you that because they believe you can't make it on the street. So you'll often hear them refer to you as a programmer. Anyways, you'll be put in a different area of housing. Okay, in most cases, in most shelters, you're not going to be out there with the transients. You'll be in a smaller area or room with a lot of bunk beds or beds, and you'll have lockers to secure your property. It's not unlimited, okay? But it's a small space to keep your stuff. You'll have your own shower area, so you don't have to deal with the main shower area in most cases. Beyond that, you'll probably, if you've got money on your credit cards and other things like that, they're going to want to take that from you when you enter the program. They're not going to let you have smartphones and internet access outside of their education centers. So you're going to be cut off from that kind of contact as well. And then some of these places have snack machines, okay? The third and final program, and they have different variations of this, are going to be religious programs, and you'll be completely segregated from the transient and the work program, usually on the second floor or different buildings, kind of like being in a prison where you're a trustee. So you have inmates and you have trustees. Well, you'll be kind of like a trustee. I would not get involved in those programs unless you're a high functioning person. You can remember a lot of Bible verses. It's one a lot like a boot camp. You're not allowed to lay around in your bed um, like work program people may be able to just hang out in their bed and have free time. On religious, if you get in a religious program, they're kind of their expectation is you might become a preacher, pastor, or something like that. The benefits to that program obviously is whenever you complete all the program, they usually have houses, apartments they own, and you're given those houses and apartment at a great discount for an extended period of time. They do the same thing for work programmers, okay? People that do the work program, it's just shorter and less of a discount, okay? So you have to choose which of those 3 programs that you want to get involved with. And I'm telling you again, if you get involved in the religious stuff, you better be prepared. I don't care how well you think you know the Bible and how much patience you think you have. Be very sure because you only get one shot at it. They're not going to let you flip flop in between programs, okay? So going back to the morning, so you're out there, you're getting your bed ticket or you're being entered into the system. Rule number 1, no matter which program you're going to be in for the first time, if they give you a bed ticket as a transit man, do not miss that day because what they'll do is they won't let you stay there for a couple of days, could be a week, could be months, Do not waste those people's time when you go get that ticket, you decide you can go out that day and get drunk and high and don't want to show back up. It's going to be bad news. They just won't let you back in there, okay? Shelters are not concerned with your work schedule. If you're going to remain a transit where you're just staying a night, it's not set up for you to work, okay? It's set up for you to eat. So if you think you're going to hold a full-time job and show up to that shelter or whatever the hell you want to, that's not going to happen as a transient, okay? Uh, because you got to show up in the morning for that. How else are you going to eat? And then also, you got to be in the door around 5 or 6. If you're going to be a transit also, when you enter the building, the first thing they're going to do is shower you. They're going to want all the filth off of you. You're going to have to put on a change of clothes that are nice, neat, and clean. And then after that, you're going to have to sit through a chapel. So if it's a religious shelter, you'll be sitting there for 45 minutes to an hour waiting for a church service to start. Then when it starts, you another hour sitting there listening to whatever that the new preachers, they get volunteer preachers come in. And to be honest with you, a lot of those people are crazy. But you sit through that, and after you do that, then you line up, you go get your food, and then around 8 o'clock at night, you get your mat or your bunk bed or your assigned area. You chitter chat with all the people that are in the big dormitory or living area, and then you go to sleep, and about 5, 6 in the morning, they're gonna wake you up. It's time to it's time to beat your feet on the sidewalk, get out the building. You're done as a transient, okay? So, and then you repeat the same methodical process if that's the way you want to do it as a transient. If you're going to be a work programmer, you're going to do your dues a month, a couple of months there, and then they'll give you pretty good freedom, and they'll allow you to do that about 9 months to a year. And then after that, you need to be on your way, or either graduate their little work program, diploma program, or whatever they've got, and then they may move you on to some housing that they own. Yeah, for the religious people, if you can handle that kind of stress, and you might enjoy something like that, you have the best of everything. You get better meals, you get better clothes, you get better access to everything. And then, of course, if you do finally make it all the way through those programs, and some of them can last, the shortest that I've seen is 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Some of them are 2 years, okay? But if you manage to get all through all that, you get heavily discounted housing if it's not free the first 6 months, and then you have access to the best resources. To me, it just seems that when you start giving people that are homeless, when you start creating subclasses inside the poor like that, I think it's unethical, okay? Because a lot of people that come to homeless shelters aren't high functioning. They're not the most intellectually, have the highest intellectual level. And so when you say that only if you can go through a Bible program can we give you the best stuff out there, I understand that they need people in those programs or whatever, but to sit there and create division amongst the poor already is ridiculous. The second thing I'm going to tell you about these programs, okay? You already know they're going to be troublemakers, okay? And if you're unfortunate enough to be the guy that's got to clean the shower, organize the homeless people that come in as transients, one thing you're going to get used to is the smell of foot and booty, okay? Rotten foot, rotten booty, okay? Because you do have transients that I call them bridge people, okay? They come in filthy, they're nasty, and I've seen a lot of crazy shit, man, and around the shower area. Um, when you first get in the program, do not bring your grandma's seven piece luggage, okay? Because they don't want all that shit in the shelter. They're not going to secure it. They're not going to lock it up. You need to travel lightly and leave all your stuff with somebody you trust, okay? Even when you get in the shelter, don't bring expensive things with you. Bring what you need in order to dress yourself, and then if you don't even have that, then they'll provide things. It's not going to be near the best. Um, don't leave your stuff unattended, and don't let other people watch it that you don't know, okay? Because you got a lot of quick fingers in the shelter. People steal, okay? You get a little bit of everything in there. Um, my advice is strictly for the men. Unfortunately, I don't have a great deal in a women's shelter, but what I can tell you about women's shelter is it's a hell of a lot better, okay? They probably treat you a little bit better. I'm not saying they're going to treat you respectfully. But it's usually a better program because women tend to have children, and when women have children, they cannot put these children in the same harsh conditions they put the men in. Okay, so it's run a little bit less about like the military, but from what I understand, they got a lot of women that act like a real bitch up in there, and so you can expect a lot of attitude. Another thing I'm going to tell you about shelter programs, you got people. There's two different. There's the front of the house. There's the back of the house. Okay, the back of the house are all the people that are paid to run the shelter. Okay, you're gonna virtually have no access to those people. These are the ones that walk around in a suit in grin and act like they're not even a part of what's happening out there. And then your front house people like your security and your managers and your counselors tend to be people that used to be homeless, okay? Sometimes counselors are fresh out of prison that have a psychology degree. So you can expect a lot of attitude from those people, and the same rules apply, the human rules. People will discriminate, favoritism, all kinds of shit goes on. You got to remember what your focus is when you go to a shelter. Your focus is to get in there, get yourself straightened out, okay? Get yourself some rest. You're gonna have to go through a bunch of shit you don't want to. That is what it is, okay? You have to do your dues. And then once enough time has passed, you've met the program requirements, then you start getting out on the sidewalk and continuing with your life, and then you take advantage of the fact that they're gonna let you stay there with virtually not having to follow many rules, okay? But if you're going to wear your feelings on your shoulder and you're more concerned about how people treat you and whether or not they're going to bring you in the building and give you a hug and a kiss on your forehead, this is not the place for you, okay? So if you're just looking for a lot of sensitive shit, this is not a mental facility where they're going to probably show you a lot of respect and help you. You're around a bunch of people that got problems. Everybody there is fucking angry about something, okay? So don't act like you're the only person there being treated badly. It's just how shit goes. In my opinion, shelters are run a lot like jails are. If you ever been to jail, I mean, down to the shower heads they use, it lacks a little bit of dignity. But I can assure you that at some point, shelters 100 years ago were probably a little bit nicer in the fact the way they treated people. But over time, the more criminals and the more people we get into these programs that act bad, the more rules they create, and the more rules they create, the harder shit gets. So the reality is, it's people that have created the harsh environment. And even though the newer people that are coming into modern days in these shelters, the reason for all the attitude is because of how things used to go. I have never thought it appropriate to hire ex clients as people running shelters. It's just a really terrible idea. Okay, I've seen that fail so much. Okay, you're giving people that have never had any power. They've been on the street. Now you're giving them power over other people, and it always ends up badly. Just the people getting abused and talking terrible to other people. So yeah, you know what? You got two ears. You don't have to listen to things. You don't have to be disrespected. If you're smart enough to just not pay attention to shit like that, do your 30 to 60 days through your work program. Get out the door, go get a job, and move on with your life. Okay. Look, I make a ton of videos, close to 100, on how to deal with HUD, how to deal with COC housing, how to raise yourself up and out of that shithole so you can get on with your life. Okay. Look, some cities have excellent shelters, okay, and excellent programs. Others do not. Some of the worst shelters I've ever seen in my life was actually Atlanta, Georgia. And I don't know what the deal is over there. And that was back a long time ago. Maybe things have changed, man. I got to tell you, it's rough riding out there. I got food poisoning real bad in that city, messing around in their programs. Dallas is pretty rough too, man. I got to tell you, they don't even put you in the building in some of the show. They put you out under a deal with large fans that are designed to cool off industrial plants. So I got to tell you, some cities and states are pretty cruel about how they treat the homeless, despite them getting millions of dollars to house you. Okay, but you remember that you have to do what you need to do to raise yourself up. Okay, this is not permanent. You guys are going in these shelters and you're decorating your little space like you're going to live there forever. You've got to get, you got to encourage and push yourself. Nobody's going to help you with the stuff in there, okay? If you don't know how to help yourself, watch my videos. I'll try to tell you how to help yourself if I can. So look, I really enjoyed making this video for you guys, and I want to tell you that if you look through most of my videos in the comment section, you'll find a link where you can email me if you need to. If it's private, you want to share things that you don't want to share publicly, you will also find links to my little bitty website that covers all the employee manuals for HUD and for the continuum of care. I make a lot of videos that tell you step by step how to work these particular systems to get housing faster, to get up these waiting lists, and get out. And in fact, starting this week, I'll be doing city by city, telling you how to get to every resource you can imagine. Everything from your housing, your electric, your phone, your food, mental care, health care, eye care. Um, a lot of cities have these homeless sheets and stuff like that for resources, and it's just a lot of baloney because a lot of those phone numbers and that, people are not going to ever answer those phones. They want you to show up at the door and apply. And the game has changed a lot in the last 20 years. So I'm weeding through that in each city and just picking the very finest ones I know that are going to have the least least amount of stress having to do it. But I want to make one thing clear, people. Anytime you ask for something free on taxpayer dollars, man, you can expect your ass to be in a line. It's not going to be fun, and you're going to be around people that just rolled out of a ditch. You're going to be around prostitutes and other things. That's what it is. Once you get used to that, okay? Once your eyes have been opened and you see the world for what it is and realize you're no different than anybody else standing in that fucking line, that's the point you're going to reach where you realize the only place you can go is up, okay? So don't come out to these shelters thinking that you're a cut above everybody else. You're out there and you're trying to make it. The difference will be is whether or not you have the willpower to better yourself, or you're going to stand in judgment of everybody else in that line, okay? And let me tell you something. If I was a judgmental man, there wouldn't be nearly 100 videos out here. I've been through all of this shit, and I've been through it in many cities. So I can't encourage you more. Now, on some other news that I want to tell you guys, that's actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and end it there because we're nearly at 20 minutes. I didn't expect this video to go that long. I appreciate y'all being here and have a great day. Bye.